Hi, it's Steph, and today I'm going to answer the burning question of whether or not these beautiful alliums are invasive. When it comes to alliums, there are two varieties that you can grow in your garden. There are the types that come in bulb form that you plant in fall and they come up in spring, and then there's the clumping ornamental onion varieties of alliums such as these here. And when I'm showing my garden in a garden tour or working in a bed, I often get questions about plants, and one that comes up pretty often is whether or not this variety of clumping allium is invasive. And I'm going to let you decide that, but I am going to give you some examples of this in my own garden. Now, I like to observe plants for some time before I can form an opinion on them. And I've been growing this type of allium for about 3 years now. So now I think that I'm ready to share my experience with you and to let you know what I think about this allium and whether or not I feel that it's invasive in my garden. What happens is that once these are done blooming, they will start to dry out, and that is the point at which they start to produce seed. If you leave the seed heads on, they will drop seed. Now, it takes a couple of years to notice that these seeds are germinating into actual plants. The first year after they drop seed, you might start seeing these little grass-like pieces of sprouts coming up in your bed. And initially, I thought that they were just pieces of grass because I have these planted in the front of my border where it meets the lawn. So I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I let a few of them go. And now I have noticed that they've started to form new clumps of alliums. In fact, a couple of them have even bloomed. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you some examples of that in my garden. So here we are underneath one of my clumps of allium. And the first year after they started to drop seed, I started noticing these little blades here underneath the plant that could very well be mistaken for grass. So you can see here it has really fine texture blade, and that's what I thought they were. But as time went on, I let them kind of grow, and now these blades are starting to thicken up and look more strappy, so I can tell that they're not grass. And here is an example of one that has been here for a couple of years now. And you can see that it has formed a new plant. Look at that. It's separated from the main clump, and we have a grouping of a new plant right here that has already bloomed. And here we are underneath another clump of allium and some more seedlings underneath. I'll get in a little bit closer. They're still really fine because they're fairly new. So if you start seeing these underneath your clumps of allium, more than likely they are seedlings. Those are newer, and then you can tell here next to this nepeta that I actually have some more that are a little bit further along and that are thickening up. And another that has already started to form blooms. You can see here I have the main clump on the left, and right between, or right at the edge of my nepeta, seedlings that have now developed and sent up some blooms this year. Now, how can you prevent this type of allium from getting too wild in your garden, from self-seeding and spreading? What you can do is, as soon as the allium is done blooming, you can go in and deadhead it. Make sure to deadhead it before it gets to the point where the bloom is starting to dry and generate seed. Because once it is at that point where it's dry and it has seeds in it now, it'll start dropping seed. You will start getting a bunch of seedlings. If you missed cutting the plant and it is now dropping seedlings, you'll just have to go in and weed out the seedlings as you would any other seed, any other weed rather. And then what you can do is you can either dispose of them or you can gift them to other friends who would love to have this beautiful perennial in their garden. As you can see, alliums do have a tendency to let themselves self-seed and spread. but I still don't think it's reason enough to not grow them. They're a beautiful perennial, and they're really unique in the structure that they offer. They have a really tall, spindly stem with a beautiful globe or ball-shaped bloom. And the fact that they bloom later in the summer, mid to late summer through early fall, is a great reason to add them to your perennial garden. The pollinators also love them, and they're pretty pest resistant. Deer and bunnies do not touch them because they are part of the onion family and they do not like their fragrance. So for me, those are all reasons for which I will continue to grow allium in my garden. But now that I know that just deadheading them will prevent some of the seeds from dropping, I am better prepared on how to cope with them in my garden and to keep them growing and not getting too aggressive. So I hope that this video was informative, and if you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could hit the thumbs up button. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.